Hey folks, it's Sean in St. Louis. Welcome to the Marketing Gateway. And we have just spent the last 2 days at the MDMC, the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference, sponsored by University of Missouri St. Louis, run by our friend, Dr. Perry Drake, who he and his team did an incredible job on this conference. And I want to say, before we get started, thank you so much, Dr. Perry Drake and all the volunteers for having us, allowing us to set up a booth and to share what we're going to share today, which is we asked people that were at the conference to sit down and talk about some of the topics that are going on in the world of marketing. And these are brave souls, because let me tell you, it is really hard when you're at a conference. You're thinking about all the things you want to go do, all the people you want to go see, all the networking you want to accomplish. And it's hard to sit down for 1 or 2 minutes in front of a camera and talk about marketing. And yet we found people that were not only willing to do it, but who shared some incredible insights. So you're going to get to see them in just a moment. But I want to mention this conference is a really, really great value. There were 500, 600 people there. The production was incredible. They had food trucks come in. One of the studios, Cool Fire, brought in an RV where you could just go and hang out and drink Liquid Death, which is one of the brands that they rep. And it was really, really cool just to get to know people in the marketing community. They even had an entrepreneur show come in the second part of today, the second day. So you can see some entrepreneurs that are working with the UMSL Accelerator program to see what they're up to. And we're hoping to have some of those folks on the show in the very near future. So what we did was we set up a booth, and the first day we were trying to get people to think a little bit about, some introspection about marketing. And our friend Brandon Toll, he has this exercise he does sometimes when he's in a crowd where he will ask everyone to close their eyes and to raise their hand if they feel imposter syndrome at any point. And he suggested, you know what, that would be a really good question for the Marketing Gateway. So we asked people, when have you ever felt imposter syndrome? Now in Brandon's exercise, when you open your eyes, everybody has their hand raised. And indeed, as we talk to people about this, every single person we talk to feels imposter syndrome at some point in their career. And some of them feel it every day. And some of them have been doing this for decades and still feel it. Okay. Marketing is a fast moving, a very tactical type of field. And sometimes the things that worked yesterday don't work today. And you feel like you just got to keep working until you make it through and find something that works, right? So we heard many people articulate these points of view. Let's share some of the things that we heard from people at the MDMC.
So how do I avoid imposter syndrome in marketing? Well, I would say by being authentic, being myself, and being vulnerable as far as getting out there and just taking risks and not being afraid of the consequences.
Okay, the question is how to overcome imposter syndrome. First of all, I'd like to say, don't be afraid, be an imposter sometimes. Sometimes it's important just to fake it till you make it. And a big part of that is just showing up. Don't forget to show up. And then, if you're lucky, you can come to a place like the MDMC and learn from so many other people.
Hi, my name is Charles Purdell, Director of Marketing at Greater St. Louis, Inc. And how do I get over imposter syndrome? Oh boy, that is one that has plagued, I think, my career. One step is just taking the bull by the horns and just going. Like, just not really thinking about it, not letting fear get to you, in that you just grab the bull by the horns and you just go. Instead of letting your doubts and your fears surround you, giving them time, you have to just be proactive and just like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with that idea. I'm going to go with that thing that I don't know will work. It's all about just being proactive, attacking before letting the fear attack you. That would be my way of getting over imposter syndrome. It's worked for a decade and a half now, and we're going to keep it going until I'm told otherwise.
I should have a lot of experience with this. I've had some pretty heavy imposter syndrome over the years. I think part of it stemmed from being a college dropout, with being surrounded by a lot of Type A 4.0 perfectionists. And me not being one of those people, it took me a lot of faking it till you make it type of probably false confidence and bravado and ego to get through that. And that was pretty successful, honestly, for the first 5-7 years of my career. But as I've gotten older, I'd say the imposter syndrome has gotten worse. I'm not that same kind of ego-driven person as I was in my 20s and early 30s. So more often now, I am listening a lot more. I'm not trying to be the smartest person in the room. I'm not trying to know every answer. When I don't know, I'm a lot more willing to admit it, and realizing too how complicated marketing has gotten. It's not possible for anybody, even a generalist like myself, to know everything. So I have enough experience that I can feel quietly confident in some of the areas that I'm an expert in, and I feel quietly confident enough to admit when I don't. And there's not enough people, I think, especially at the executive level, that are able to do that.
So imposter syndrome is that feeling when you feel like you walk in a room and you don't belong there. And I feel that all the time. I'm an extroverted introvert. Okay, I'm somebody who very naturally uncomfortable when I walk in a room and often don't feel like I belong there. And one of the lessons I've learned is to go in with an idea of why you do belong there. Even if that idea is just simply, I'm here to say hi to people or I'm here to greet people. Another thing that I've learned as a researcher and as someone who's in the classroom a lot is that if you can go in armed with just a little bit of knowledge about something and then encourage other people to talk, you can just stand and listen and absorb. And it helps you to feel less like an imposter, because a lot of times you'll pick up things that people might have been a little insecure about themselves that you can then talk to them about, and you can ask them questions about, and you can think about in a way that feels much more natural. And so fake it till you make it is the often advice that you're given about imposter syndrome. But let me tell you, I think sometimes you don't have to fake it. You just have to be yourself. You have to admit that it's okay not to know things, and it's okay to feel like you don't belong, but that you're trying to fit in, and that makes all the difference.
Hi, it's me. So for imposter syndrome, I genuinely just don't think. A lot of people say that you fake it till you make it, but sometimes you also kind of just have to roll with it and jump into the deep end and just put yourself out there, because sometimes the mask is what helps you work through. I'm not a very talkative person. Sean knows that more than anybody, I think, at this point. But yeah, sometimes you need to be the imposter in a good way, because, like I said, it just kind of helps you get yourself out there and, makes it feel right.
Well, I hope you noticed we had a couple of surprise guests in there, myself and production assistant Holly. And Holly is not only involved in every episode of the Marketing Gateway, as you know, if you have listened before, but also she was there helping me with the booth, and she helped to film a lot of these. So I want to say, what we talked about there. Let me just reiterate that one of the best ways to overcome imposter syndrome that I have found is to actually go and teach something to someone. Now, it doesn't have to be in a classroom. It could be just teaching people in a training session. It could be teaching people that you're apprenticing. It could be mentoring other people. But when you have to explain what you do to other people, and you have to put it in a way where you're putting yourself on the line, they can challenge you. They can tell you that you're wrong. They can tell you that nothing you said is right. It really makes you get better at what you're doing, because you start to think about it in a more structured way. But it also makes you have an easier time of feeling like you actually know what you're talking about, because you start looking at the resources, you start looking at the literature, you start looking at what other people are doing in practice, and you realize, you know what I'm doing works, and other people are doing it too. And that means I'm not an imposter. It means that I'm actually a trailblazer, perhaps, or I'm actually somebody who is a practitioner who's doing things correctly. Once you can adopt that perspective, it helps imposter syndrome to get beaten to retreat. But I just want to warn you, I still feel imposter syndrome in some parts of my life, especially sometimes being a parent, sometimes being involved in volunteering, sometimes just standing in a room full of people that I don't know. So it comes, but it goes as well, the more comfortable you get with what you know. So hang in there and just keep trying to teach other people what you know, and you will find that it starts to go away. All right. So another question that we had was about what important skills are involved in digital marketing. We asked people, what's the most important skill in digital marketing? Now, this is exactly the right audience to ask this because we had a ton of digital marketers there. And we had many folks that were willing to sit down with us and answer this question. So here is what they had to say.
Okay, I'm going to give a contrarian take here. The most valuable skill set in marketing today, I don't think is AI. I don't think it's how to integrate AI into your campaigns. I actually think the most tried and true skill set is one that's been there and needed for the past decade, and it's funnel building. It's really more about tying tools and channels together in a way that gets prospects to raise their hand, say that they're interested in solving a problem, and moves them through a funnel to nurture them so that they book a call to talk with a salesperson. Marketing is way more complex today than it was 20, 30 years ago. There's more tools, there's more systems, people expect more. There's a point in time where you could just get a list of leads and send out a direct mailer or something like that, and you would be able to book a bunch of appointments and opportunities with nothing else more than a single touch point. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think that prospects need to experience brands. They need to experience the messaging behind what the brand is doing. And the only way to do that is to build funnels that create multiple touch points, multiple points of education, and end up sending somebody directly to a salesperson for a phone call. So funnel building is what I think is the most important skill set in digital marketing today.
So talking about the most valuable skill in digital marketing today, I truly believe it is critical thinking and problem solving, just because AI is great as a tool to help us kind of launch marketing into the next stage. And without critical thinking skills and problem solving, it's very easy to accept whatever the GPT or the LLM is giving you, and having that extra edge of being able to parse out what is good quality content and what is just mediocre is what's going to give you an edge in the digital marketing world, because access to AI, automation, and all of these digital marketing tools is pretty much democratized at this point. If you have an internet connection, you can get access to all of that information. But how you process that and how you deliver it to your audience and how you are able to communicate the value of the client or the company that you're working for, that's really the edge. And so that having that skill of being able to think critically about something and then solve very unique problems for niche audiences is what's going to give you that extra edge to be not just a good digital marketer, but a really great one.
The most valuable skill in today's marketplace for marketing, digital marketing, is really being able to move quickly, be able to understand what's going on, see how your markets are moving, how technology is moving, and how to reach those markets. What's happening right now is just a lot of things that are changing. What used to work before is not necessarily working right now. You really need to be able to adapt. I think getting into AI definitely is a must now for marketers. They really need to get into digital marketing, as well as understanding the bilingual segments that are developing here in the U.S. You know, the Hispanic market is growing a great deal. Being able to understand that market, also how to attract, how to reach it with digital marketing is critical as well. That's the future right now. So it's really important to focus on both things, and both the technology, AI aspects, as well as the multicultural aspects that are also impacting the country.
The most valuable skill in digital marketing today, I would say, is a combination of two things. It is understanding the cross between the spreadsheet and the story. It's somebody that can have true empathy for their customers, that can really put their feet into somebody else's shoes and to think about how they would experience visiting a website, receiving a piece of communication, how it would feel to watch a 30-second commercial, and being able to cross that over with what the analytics say, what the business imperative is, and being able to make a decision based on both of those things, and only moving forward when both the business side and the consumer side are satisfied. Too often, you are an agent of a business, and you only are thinking about a KPI that's important to that business, and we don't think about what it feels like for that customer. So it's taking both a qualitative and quantitative approach to decision making that is the most important thing in digital marketing today.
So I think the most valuable skill in digital marketing today is creativity, because with creativity we can know what's the best content for our audience, what are the best images for our audience, and put these together to create something of value and that's relatable. Another reason why I say creativity is that even if we're using AI-based tools, you still need to feed it information that's related to your target audience. So creativity helps you tell AI what exactly it needs to do in order for you to create that type of content. So say, for example, if you're working on a social media post and you want to use some image that you can create easily through AI, you can tell it exactly what it is that you need in that moment and target it to your audience in a way, again, that is relatable and that will bring value to them. So yeah, creativity. Thank you.
Adaptability, easy. That is the fact that throughout your career in digital marketing, you will see 1,000,001 changes almost every day. You will not be, things will not be the same a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. If I had to go over the amount of things that have changed in the last 15 plus years that I've been doing this, it's insane. It would make you go crazy. But you have to have the ability to adapt and understand that you are in a sea of change. You have to, it's always a sea change, it's always a scene change. You just have to be able to adapt and go with the flow, and those will always show in your work, your adaptability and your willingness to allow yourself to go with the changes, go with the flow, and go from there.
I think the most valuable skill to have in digital marketing today is adaptability. So because if you're in digital marketing, you're going to be doing a lot of different things, whether it's with email newsletters, email marketing, social media content, all of those things. As we see in this landscape, you have to be able to pivot and adapt quickly. So I think adaptability is the most, the critical skill that you need in digital marketing. Thank you.
The most valuable skill in digital marketing is actually communications, and communications as being able to talk to another human being, I think is the most important. Yes, you need to be able to do the tactics on the back end and be able to connect the dots and everything, but you need to be able to be a person and tell the story of how the strategy is going to work, how the activation is going to work, and then finally the storytelling of the data and what's actually come from it and what are those results. So communications.
Okay, I have to answer that question with two most valuable skills for digital marketing today. To me, it's critical thinking and creativity. Right? So in the critical thinking front, with artificial intelligence and all the sort of fast motion that we have in the world today, we're definitely seeing people sort of lean on that a little bit too much and not really bring their own critical thinking to the work that they're doing. So I think really continue to use those AI tools and keep up with the pace, but take the moment to be critically thoughtful about what you're doing, what's the business goal, what's the purpose, what's the brand voice that's underneath this, and those sorts of things. The second is creativity, because I do think that we can explore creativity with AI tools, but there's still nothing like collaborating with friends, working together, being at the whiteboard, sort of thinking through what are the creative possibilities that we have. I'd also argue that most large language models are kind of common denominators of human knowledge, and the best creative thoughts may not come out of there. And really, a lot of the creativity in history comes outside of what is existing human knowledge and connecting things together that haven't been connected before. So, therefore, critical thinking, creativity, and bringing both of those to your work is really essential for any digital marketer today.
All right, cool. So I think the most valuable skill in digital marketing today is discernment. It's your superpower, knowing when to use AI, because that is the thing and that's where digital marketing is going. When to use it, when not to use it, and then how to discern whether or not the output that you got is actually the right and valuable output for what you need.
All right. Well, I hope you got some great insights from all of these incredible people that sat down with us. And, This was such a neat conference because there were lots of speakers. There were academics, there were students, there were agency people, there were digital marketers, there were PR people, there were people like myself who are in many different realms. There were entrepreneurs. There were people who were just there to kind of learn about what digital marketing is all about. There were classes going on. I heard in one class, Nick Niehaus, who we're hoping to get on the show at some point, he said he was teaching people how to build a lead magnet in AI using a tool called Emergent, and they basically were able to do it in about 15 minutes. And I think that must have been pretty cool to see that happen. So many cool things were going on at this conference. And I want to, once again, thank the volunteers because they really worked hard. And I made sure to thank them personally. I always do because I know how hard these things are. But I want to thank them again on this video. And I hope that everybody watching who was there can thank them as well because they did a great job. And Dr. Perry Drake in particular, wonderful guy. What a visionary he is to have conceived this conference, to make it happen, to keep it going all these years, and to keep building and to try to find new ways to make it relevant and useful. And they did a great job. And we were so thrilled to be there and to be a part of it. And I want to thank Wes Morgan too. Wes Morgan's also been on our show. Wes Morgan got handed the role of helping with all the exhibitors pretty late in the game because someone else was unable to do it. And Wes Morgan did a tremendous job. And he's a friend of the St. Louis marketing community. He's a great guy. He's a great resource. We all know him and love him. But we really appreciated him in this particular conference because he gave it his all and he did a fantastic job. So thank you, Wes. Thank you, Dr. Perry Drake. Thank you, all the other volunteers. We appreciated you so much. With that said, one of the cool things about going to a conference like this is I meet new people. And I met a lot of people who were really excited about what we're doing on this show. And I'm working on getting them on here. And we've actually got some new interviews lined up. We're going to have some of the people that we heard speak. We're going to have some of the entrepreneurs. We're going to have some people we just met in the crowd. We're going to have artists. We're going to have visionaries. We're going to have agency folks. We're going to have all kinds of people coming on the Marketing Gateway that we had a chance to interact with in person. So I'm really excited to have them on in the next few weeks. And I hope you will be too. Because again, our goal here is to connect the St. Louis marketing community. We want to take all of this knowledge and expertise that we have and share it with the world. Because here in St. Louis, we have just incredible marketing folks, an incredible marketing community. And I hope that you feel a lot closer to it with all the work that we're doing here. And we're going to keep on doing it. So thanks so much for watching or listening. I'm Sean in St. Louis. This has been the Marketing Gateway, and we will see you next time.